Is this the button? Did I press the button? I think I pressed the button. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Ramblemancy. We are joined this evening by the one and only Brita Donnan.
Hello! Hi, everybody.
welcome, everybody. I don't know what happened. Is everybody in the chat let me know if my audio is okay, because I was playing around with it and I still have no idea if it's good or too high, too low. I don't know. So let me know. But yes, hello, Bree. It's good to have you back on stream.
It's back. Thanks for having me. I'm the first guest of 2023. Yay!
Hell yeah.
I was double checking that I did not just say that and I was wrong. It's not wrong because there's only been 2 other ones. So we're good.
You are in fact our first guest of
That's
2023.
True. That's true.
And a better guest I think we could not have.
I agree. All right, you guys can hear me fine. Perfect. That's good. That's the way I want it. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Tonight, I don't know what we're talking about, but that's okay. Neither do you. Wait. Yeah. I'm sticking with it.
What's going on? And we're all just here.
I'm sticking with it.
We're basically just filming us hanging out.
Pretty much, yeah. Surprise. This is actually just an excuse for us to, like, find time to hang out.
Yeah, it is.
the secret lives of your favorite content creators is finding excuses to make content creators, so we also content together, so that we also have an opportunity to hang out.
Yeah,
for a bit.
content collaborations. What you think it is, it's like, hey, I've got a really good idea for some content that we could collaborate on together, and it'd be really great. Here's my pitch. What it really is, hey, you want to hang out with us on stream?
Yeah. Like legit. And it's funny because it is kind of like that when you don't know somebody very well, but like once you're like friends with somebody else who's a content creator, that is kind of how it is. Just like, hey, I'm playing Codenames on Friday and I need somebody to guest. Do I hang out?
Yeah.
Also, if that's not a meme already, then it should be.
It should be.
Get in, losers. We're playing Codenames.
Hey, I know that. Listen. We all know the person who runs their Twitch channel here.
That's true. That's true.
Please sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
Or just like, wave and say hi. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm good with that too.
Yeah. That's good.
Shout out to Ray.
Shout out to Ray.
We love you, Ray. And we collectively do our best not to swear when Check Games Edition is on the line. This is a roast for Bree specifically.
Stop! we need to stop.
Oh no.
I swore a whole bunch on Codenames Live, not Codenames Live, on Codenames on Ray's, on Chex Games Edition on accident. Because it was a low vocabulary day and I couldn't think of an expletive other than fuck.
Also, we got into
it was also really chaotic.
We got into a very heated discussion about whether or not carousels are creepy.
They are not, and I will die on this hill. I mean, they can be creepy, but I don't think they are inherently creepy.
All right, tonight on Ramblemancy, carousels, creepy or not? No, we're not talking about that.
Oh man, I just know the perfect thumb for this too, for this YouTube when it goes on YouTube as well.
Oh
it's just
my god!
Someone on a carousel just looking absolutely terrifying.
It's like that. It's the Matt Mercer
we get Bree going like, and then we get a shot of like we just ask Ray to go like that or something, and then we put both of those faces on the thumbnail with the picture, like a shitty stock image that still has like Shutterstock across it of the carousel.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the thumbnail has to have like in big red letters with a white border that say "so creepy," and then like.
Yep.
You'll get a million views on YouTube.
Amethyst, I'm not gonna put you in pun jail, but you're on thin ice.
Emmett is like, are you proud of yourself?
Also, Nico, thank you so much for the 41 months of subs.
That's so many months. I don't even think I can remember that many months. That's a lot of them.
Mm-mm.
That's amazing though. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
You should be able to remember that many. Maybe not individually, but hopefully.
Listen, okay. If my month goes by, never mind. I'm not gonna finish that joke. Anyway,
Anyway, Hello and welcome, friends. I just wanted to say hi to everybody I see in chat so far. Hassan, hello. Odds and Ends, Amity, Geekouts, one of our many lovely moderators I see. Speaking of moderators, Cam and Amethyst. Hello, hello, hello. Newly Human, hi. And I think that is everybody. I do have one important announcement about one of our chatters tonight.
Oh.
It is the inimitable, the unimpeachable Odds and Ends' birthday today. So if everyone in chat could please join me in wishing a very happy birthday to Odds. Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Heck yeah! Happy birthday, Odds. Thanks for being here and hanging out.
As I predicted, I have gotten pizza.
You love to see it.
Where did that come from?
The sky.
Sky pizza.
Sky pizza.
Happy birthday, Odds. I wish you a whole lot of sky pizza.
I hope you also get some sky pizza. Domino's.
Oh my
Sponsor
gosh.
Sponsor.
No.
Can't say that. You can't say that. Oh my gosh.
Odd says, okay, gang. The carousel is my favorite ride. They're so beautiful and historical, and they have awesome musical instruments in them. They do.
I agree.
Like,
I fully agree.
That's where I'm at on this too.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Romance.
I'm sorry, but like for some reason, this is not my usual. Like this is not where I live exactly. But like whenever some reason right now, I'm thinking about whenever I think about carousels, I cannot help but imagine that photo of Matthew Mercer with the big mustache, just like doing the. I'm sorry, you know which one I'm talking about. Yeah.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, if somebody can find it and put it in the Ramblemancy channel on Discord,
Oh my god.
you'll listen.
All right.
It's a glorious photo.
Carousels are creepy in the same way that carousels can be creepy in the same way that like clowns and circuses are creepy. But carousels also by not being inherently
I believe I have posted the correct one.
By not being inherently like a setting, but just like a set dressing can also be romantic with enough lighting and like polish and shine. Like it just depends on like where you're putting it in your media. But a lot of the time when you actually go to amusement parks, carousels are really cool. Because they try, because that's like the thing that little kids can ride on. It's like in the first like area and it's like all bright and lit up and stuff. That's what I think of carousels, because for some reason, and I realize that this is not a thing that a lot of people have anymore, but in a lot of parks in the Twin Cities, in like the older parks, they have really well-maintained carousels that you can just ride.
Yeah, well, like, and when you go to Como Park Zoo,
Exactly.
there's that beautiful carousel right right outside of it,
right at the entrance. Yeah. So I'm just used to good carousels.
Fair enough.
But
think,
like if you, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, but like if you're on the East Coast, there's probably really creepy carousels because things are older there, and there's a lot of abandoned amusement parks in the East Coast, as far as
anything abandoned is going to be spooky. I mean,
exactly.
We live near a historical sort of place, an old military base, and it's got the vibe. It's old bunkers.
Yeah. That's fair. That's a good point. I feel like, in my mind, I don't come down on either side of this issue. I'm a resident centrist here. Don't take that out of context. Please don't take that out of context. No, I don't come down on either side of this issue, but I do agree that like carousels are from like the carousels that exist today are from so long ago that they can very easily have fallen into disrepair, and that's some creepy shit. If you've ever seen children's toys from the 80s that have like 70s and 80s that have like not gone through, like have not been well maintained, it's terrifying. That shit freaks me out. Like
yeah, Hassan says few things scare me more than an out of tune carousel organ. And yes, an
I don't
out of
want
tune.
to think about that.
Like a half lit, paint chipped off, like out of tune carousel, you like creaking around in a circle. That's straight out of a horror movie.
Absolutely.
Well maintained carousel, cutest, most like adorable romantic.
Now I can't help but think of the circus or the amusement park in Cowboy Bebop, and now I'm very uncomfortable.
Oh no,
I
that
hate-
just gave me the shivers.
I know, I don't like it. Like, incredibly well executed episode of the anime. I didn't think they did a good job of it in the live action, but in the anime, incredibly well executed, good job, fucking terrifying, and I don't like thinking about it. It makes me so uncomfortable. Anyway.
Yeah.
Few things are scarier than poorly maintained lead-painted family entertainment. I agree.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Well put, Amethyst.
I will also say that like the reason I think carousels are romantic is like personally I have a good experience with them, but also in a lot of dramas like romantic media, carousels are like heavily featured as like a date location.
That's fair. Yes, absolutely. Oh, Nico, absolutely not. I hate the place that you have taken this.
Oh,
No.
wow.
The corpse cereal or whatever. Oh my god.
Nearly Human says, my personal instinct to take things to their creepiest possible conclusion, but I also think that things should sometimes be allowed to just be nice for people. I agree. I'm right there with you. I also like weird, and look, it should come as no, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, it should come to as no shock that I like weird, creepy, and dark kind of stuff, you know? But I also sometimes think things should just be nice, you know? So I hear you, Nearly Human. I'm right there with you. Hi, Cole. Man, a lot of swords in chat tonight. I love this.
Yeah, I do love the amount of green and white I see in
There
chat
is-
this evening.
What is wrong with me? There are so many things already from tonight's episode that are going to be horribly taken out of context. Thanks, Matt.
Listen, Lucas, you've like this reminds me of a tendency that both Lucas and Cam like have, which is their ability to step into like brigade Discord server, like community hangouts or community days, or just like when a few people are chilling in there at the on the strangest phrase of the weird conversation of the entire night.
Yeah.
Like there will be a 2-hour stretch of us occasionally exclaiming about the video games that we're playing, and then the 1 minute that we are talking about, I can't make it up off the top of my head. It's always too wild and weird. I have the ability to come in right at that exact moment, and tonight just brings all of that energy.
Yeah. Well, Cam, I see you. Fist bump. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my eyes are super dry today, so I'm like, I should probably just put on my blue light filter glasses. Hold on. Okay.
Wait, sorry, not to drag out the carousel thing more, but what is the history of it anyway?
Oh, how did that meme come into existence?
No, just what's the deal with the carousel in general? I don't
The
know
deal
anything
with the
about it.
carousel, just like the concept of a carousel?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Does anyone know? I mean, I think like it just comes from like amusement parks and like it was like one of the first, I think, like elaborate mechanical rides that you could make.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just goes around in a circle, but it like and the things go up and down. But a lot of the time, when you don't have the technology to make a roller coaster, that's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I just
think-
imagine, like, so it's like, what if you could ride horses, but without the horses? Also, there was music. Damn it, Jerry! I told you to get off the shrooms and get back to work.
Yeah.
That'll never catch
There
on.
you go.
It'll never catch on. You're a dreamer.
But yeah, I think that's sort of what it is, and it's like this is like because it is usually like the centerpiece of like an amusement park or like a carnival or like location,
Mhm.
and I think that's probably just because it's like this is the thing that started it all, a carousel.
I want to say that like pre like, and I might be talking out of my ass here. I don't know, but I want to
Who
say
knows?
that it's born out. I am just as ignorant as everyone else on screen here. I want to say it's maybe born out of like also the just having like dressed up animals that are essentially like ridden in a circle for like kids to come and ride on.
Mhm.
Like it's just the mechanical version of that.
Yeah.
A thing that still happens at like state fairs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Come take your kids to the petting zoo and let them ride a wee little horse in a circle for a little bit.
I've done that.
The risk without
Mhm.
the risk. Horse without the risk.
And cute music, if it's done well.
Riskless horse. Good.
A
Yeah.
riskless horse.
Oh, Hassan says the mod. Actually, you know what? Hassan would know about this. I'm pretty
That's
sure.
good. Yeah. We are. This episode of Ramblemancy, no Wikipedia. We're just gonna guess.
We learned from chat. The modern carousel emerged from early jousting traditions in Europe and the Middle East. Knights would gallop in a circle while tossing balls from one to another, an activity that required great skill and horsemanship. So basically, tossing polo.
That's cool.
That's
Alright.
That
fucking
is.
rad.
It is cool.
So- If anybody was going to know something about something that originated from knightly tradition in this chat, it was going to be Hassan.
I think there's a
They keep-
deep human need to ride horses. This sounds like the statement of a horse girl. No shade, but like, but listen, I think that's probably true. It's probably true. Like I was born and raised in Montana. I rode horses.
Rode horse. I didn't ride horses a lot, but I did. I've been in places to ride horses.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it. I was just gonna keep going down that weird tangent. Go
No,
for it.
I just was distracted by Nico's like apropos of nothing. I would love a whole school cafeteria of Gen Zers talking about whatever it is young people talk about, but doing it in the cadence and volume of a 50s radio announcer.
I love that. I really.
Me too.
I think I need that. Actually, I need that to happen.
We need
Yeah.
to make that a TikTok trend specifically so that we can like trick.
There
kids
it
into
is.
doing that.
There it is.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep. We
Yep.
we can make that happen.
Manipulate-
TikTok exists.
We manipulate the algorithm for our own entertainment purposes. Not for world domination, not for profit, just for our own entertainment.
Just so that I can, Evan, one of our dear friends who is a substitute teacher, will come home from substitute teaching and give the trademark. Hey, Evan, how's your day?
Sounded just like him. It sounded exactly just like him.
I'm good at voices.
Oh god, that's like the most. But like the way, like can a sigh have an intonation? Because if it can, you did it perfectly. Like.
I think they can. Like, sighs have a certain energy to them.
Yeah.
And that is one of, I am so very glad to be sitting in front of my Space Wizard chore machine with my Amber adult juice.
There you go.
Camp adult juice.
The transatlantic Newly Human says the transatlantic accent was an invention the first time around. No reason we can't do it again. That's the spirit.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go. That's the new thing. That's my bring back the transatlantic accent. Yeah.
It helps. It's really good with that enunciation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It helps a lot.
Oh.
Probably not so good for your
Oh.
throat though. You know, for your, because you're
No,
doing that.
probably
Because you're speaking in the up, like in like the nasal kind of. It's probably not good for your voice.
Just smoke a pack and a half of cigarettes, you'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, you have to do it on like really shitty audio equipment because that's sort of what gets that like graininess. It's not the same without the graininess.
That's
you know?
true. That's true. Yeah.
Hold on. I'll switch mics here.
Oh no.
Go over to my webcam and then just speak into a tin can at my webcam.
And then just have a trombone playing in the background. Perfect.
I dig
That-
it. I dig it.
Now, if I could cut that down to about a very punchy 6.5 seconds, I feel like that could go viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gemini, disclaimer: smoking cigarettes may have negative consequences for your health.
Yes, it will.
Rule of Lord does not endorse smoking.
Honestly,
have.
I think the
Certainly
point.
has.
I actually sort of think the point that Freeman was trying to make is that during the time when the transatlantic accent was like popular, they were doing that. They were also so like doing the like nasal thing is probably the least of their concern.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Probably the least harmful thing that you could do in that combination of things. So that's a fair point.
Humans are really good at doing really stupid things that harm our body. We're like, it's cool.
We're really bad at keeping ourselves alive.
We are. We're so bad at keeping ourselves alive.
We're really bad at it.
It is only for the fact that our bodies, while weirdly fragile, are also weirdly sturdy. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, when we break something, it kind of just mends itself, as opposed to some animals where they break something and that's it, they're dead.
Yeah. Nico says, idea, synthetic android species in a sci-fi universe, but they only have like 3 different voice packs to choose from, so everyone sounds the same. Yes. Good. That reminds me of, okay, so in a TTRPG, I think it was a one-shot that we were doing, where a friend of ours in college, he was playing a robot that's sort of like similar to the oh god, what are they called in New Vegas? The weird, like the blue boxy looking robots. I forget what they're called. But he was playing something.
Protectatron?
Nope, that's a different thing. But no, it's specific to New Vegas. They have like the TV on the front of them. I forget what they're called. But the point is, that he was playing something similar to that, where basically he was like an old decommissioned male bot, and he had like his personality matrix was corrupted, so he had 2 personalities that would like randomly switch back and forth, and one of them was like the easygoing cowpoke, which was the male bot, and then the other one was like the gung-ho sergeant who wanted to just like, let's go, all right, come on, Sonny, let's go, get your ass up, we gotta get out there, like it's and then he'd just swap back to like, well, I'll think that sounds like a swell idea, and like, it's an incredible concept, and I love that character so much.
A wild pivot from like, I think that sounds like a swell idea. Well, should we hit the let's get going, Sonny? Like,
get your ass up, get some mud in those eyes, we're gonna get moving.
Incredible.
Why are broken robots like so fun?
It's like one of my favorite sci-fi tropes.
It's the best thing. It's the best thing. It's like mapping. It's like if we could romanticize. Well, it's not really romanticize, but it's like if we could make having people that are neurodivergent be likable, but they have to be robots.
That's a good point. They really are like, yeah. I mean, I've seen so many of the robotic or synthetic beings in sci-fi stuff. Sometimes in a good way and sometimes somewhat problematically, do tend to be a little bit analogous to like neurodivergent people, and I don't know how I feel about that. I have to unpack that.
As I often say, there's a paper to be written there.
There sure is. Yeah. Huh.
Which major in?
Yeah. Oh God.
Shameless plug. You can learn about it in my analysis in my comic, The Phoenix. Anyway.
Hermes, you. Hermes, what an incredible time for you to get here. You know what? I'm not gonna give you context on that one. You're just gonna. I think.
Yeah, when you said mud in your, let's get you some mud in your eyes. Get out there. I'm like, is that like a common saying?
Yes, absolutely. What? Yes, definitely. No, no.
I know.
Hermes, I promise you the context is nowhere near as entertaining as whatever you made up in your mind to make it make sense. So I don't want to ruin that for you. I don't want to take that away from you.
I thought it was just like war paint type of vibe where you just like
That's what I assumed.
That's what I assumed. Instead of like grinding mud into your eye.
Well, if you're like crawling through a mud puddle, then you're gonna get mud in your eye.
My thought was like, I was somewhere in between crawling through muddy trenches and also like, tough guy shit, like, rub some dirt in it, but like get some mud in your eyes, like whatever, like that's kind of.
It works.
That's kind of where my head was at.
Like or tough mudder, which I've not
tough
done,
mudder.
I have seen it done, and there's mud in your eye.
Yeah.
What is a tough mudder?
it's like a athletic thing. You know, you run, do obstacle course. Part of it is like crawling through like I think a section of it is crawling through mud, depending on the region, I guess.
Yeah, there's
like an obstacle course with like running as part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a triathlon type thing, but it's more like. But yeah, it's.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's my mom ran a few of those when she was when
Yeah.
I was.
I don't think
when
it's
I was much
actually.
younger.
I don't think it's actually a triathlon, but it is sort of like that style of event. You know.
Yeah, there's multiple aspects. There's not just running or just this. There's a few different challenges.
Imagine a cross country like run, but they were like, go run through this muddy fucking creek and then climb up this wall and then run another couple miles in wet muddy shoes.
It's
Yeah.
true. There is there's a section with tasers that hang and you have to run through and you get like tasers.
That's what I'm seeing. Like Hermes was saying, I've done 3 Tough Mudders, way too expensive to be worth it now. 3-hour race, 10 to 12 miles, electrified fences, etc.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's wild.
What?
I kind of want to do one.
That doesn't shock me,
I will never do
Freeman.
that in my life.
Yeah, fair.
That is maybe the most Freeman thing that I could, like, yep. Oh, man.
If one comes to Seattle, I'd be tempted.
I can't remember what the name of the one in Iowa is, but I know several members of my family ran that when they were doing like running and triathlons and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
It is. I've never heard of this, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's not a thing you city folk would know. I'm only a little bit kidding.
Look, I have lots of advantages being a city person. Not being exposed to this is one of them.
Yeah, listen, when you live out in the middle of nowhere and the biggest town for a 3-hour drive in any direction is like 15,000 people tops, you gotta find ways to entertain yourself. And sometimes that's setting a race route across a farmer's like pasture that includes jumping electrified fences.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Wish I was joking.
It's true. Yep. Oh my gosh. Geek Outs has a question. What are some of those neurodiverse traits you've worked into your characters? An easy example for me is most of my characters are scatterbrained or easily distracted because I can play it off. That's fair. Oh man, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've ever done it intentionally. I'm sure it's worked its way in there because, it's me. But I think more like the distractibility. Although that's not really a me thing. I don't think I'm easily distracted, but distractibility, sort of absent-mindedness, is something that I often put into characters. Not necessarily mine, mostly NPCs, but yeah.
I'm very glad that Hermes knows where his towel is. That's an excellent reference.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to think because a lot of the time there's been times where I've made characters that are really, especially I have basically 2 types of characters that I play. If it's on just a fun home game type of thing, it's either someone that goes really hard into my intelligent hyper focus where I have to know everything and be really into and know all of the deep lore and stuff. Or I know nothing and I don't care about anything and I'm just here for a good time. And those are the 2 things. Either I have to know everything or I have to know nothing. And those are the 2 things.
The Alwyn versus the nobody.
Exactly. Either I am a head empty archfey druid that doesn't know anything and just wants to hug plants, or I am a grifter hacker in a cyberpunk setting that is begrudgingly the teen mom of a bunch of teen superheroes that has to get everything to be okay so that no one dies.
See, I was about to ask you where on that spectrum Maisel falls, and I just realized when you said group mom of a bunch of teenagers, I was like, okay, never mind, I figured it out.
Yeah, Maisel is not as hard hard as nobody. Nobody had a very tragic life and went really hard in one direction. Maisel is a little bit more well-adjusted, but not, you know.
Yeah.
Maisel doesn't live in a cyberpunk dystopia, which makes
That's
just
fair.
as a baseline makes her more
No,
well-adjusted.
no, Maisel doesn't live in a cyberpunk dystopia, just a zombie post-apocalypse. Like that's
Right. She'll if we go back to those characters ever, something will happen, and she'll either be better or worse, and we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, now I feel like it's Matt who's saying the thing that, taken out of context, it would be, you know.
Nobody needs therapy and medication. No one does. 0 people.
Nobody.
Oh my god.
No, nobody is a character that I play very much the same Theseus thing, or like, I'm nobody with the Cyclops. That's the character that I play. I'm not saying nobody, I don't play anybody that's like this. Just for clarification. Title nobody
there
has
you go.
a name.
Capital N nobody.
Capital N nobody.
Yeah. Didn't we do that, like, for something on your server where everybody changed their name to nobody for a while?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I vaguely
we did.
recall that. Yep.
That was, I think, for my birthday.
I
or
feel
something.
yes.
A few years ago, when
Yeah.
I was like, every week I was like telling everyone like the story of that home game, and everyone was like, we're just gonna change our name to nobody, and it got real confusing.
Like that time, every single person in my Discord server for, I think, my birthday this year turned their name to Koala.
Yes.
Good. Yes.
Because she is your best and only moderator.
Yes, as we know, I have only one moderator and one viewer who makes it consistently perfectly on time to every single one of my streams, and that's Koala. So.
Hey, listen, you take the wins where you can get them.
Yep. But yeah, those I don't know what neurodivergent traits that spectrum is, but that's, I think part of it is just like, I need to not have I either need to play into my anxiety, or I need to play completely not in my anxiety. I either have to take the anxiety out of the equation, or I have to be like, this is gonna be anxiety inducing for me, and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I really do think that might be the one that I introduce into my characters most often, is sort of absent-mindedness or like easily distractible. That might be the one that I introduce the most.
Yeah, that tends to be it too for me, because like to play into the spectrums here, you've got, like, you know, one of my first like D&D 5e characters, a bard who was like super in touch with just the world around him and could describe it in such vivid detail that, you know, it came to life, as Aiden. Or like the rogue that I'm playing right now, which is like an inquisitive, like noir detective Harangon, which is an incredibly funny dichotomy.
John, I have a very important question for you. Does your character do the whole like edgy self-narration thing, but is just a bunny?
Yes.
Good.
The whole bit.
Good.
Okay. Oh man.
He's part of a set of triplets, and the other two triplets are like these weird, wacky little artificer bunnies who like to blow things up, and they're very loud, and they talk like this. And then there's Raymond, who talks in low, sort of cigar gravelly tones. Somehow, there's always smooth jazz playing in the background during his scenes, and they're in black and white, except for the color red. Every so often, somebody, either one of the other triplets or somebody else in the party, or just the DM will be like, "So is the world always just in black and white around him, or?" It's not a magic item that my character has that does this. There's no mechanical purpose to it. Just every so often, we make note that this is a thing that is true of him.
Good.
So you have that end of the spectrum, and then you have like the Korra end, where I'm like, duelist rogue go brr.
Oh my gosh, Gemini, thank you so much for subscribing. 23 months. That's almost 2 years. That's incredible.
That's almost.
Thank
100.
you so much. That's almost 100.
100.
That joke will never get old.
It'll never get old. Nico says, question, what's the most different from you character that you've played? Whew,
I've been thinking about this since you've read it, and I still don't have an answer. Because anytime I try to make a character that's different from me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that happens to me too. Like,
I don't know if I've honestly tried hard enough.
Yeah, me neither.
I think when I have tried, that character didn't end up getting getting a chance to grow, because it was a long time ago and the game didn't go very long, and I was barely introduced to D&D in the first place.
Right.
But that would be a good example. Probably is when I first started doing D&D, and I didn't think about those things. I was just making a character for, I don't know, for the strength and for the wrong reasons, to be honest. Winning the game, which is not D&D. So I think that would be an example. But since then, I don't think I've had any success with that.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of us in our characters, I think.
Yeah. Gemini said, I once played as a self-centered nihilistic rogue that was very mission-oriented, lawful neutral, slightly lawful evil. See, I've always wanted to do something like that. That's a character... I won't say... Because I don't think that I have an answer to the question that Nico asked, but I do have, I think, an answer to the next most obvious question, which is, what is a character that you would want to play that is very different from you? And I actually think that Gemini kind of has... Like, if any of you watch The Flash... I love Captain Cold, and I want to play that character. The, like, sort of, like, the mercenary, like, always has a plan, like, you know, like, only out for himself, will, like, grudgingly help, but, like,
Back when the show was good.
Back when the show was good, yes, that's true. Don't get me wrong, I love The Flash. Favorite superhero, but that show went not great.
Anyways, we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, we don't have to get into that. Captain Cold. Yeah. Yes, Captain Cold. Let's see. I saw Daniel Kidd said, how many heroes in D&D are not neurodivergent? I mean, how many normal people do that hero stuff? Listen,
that's a very good point.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You're not gonna go out and look for adventure if you don't feel like you fit it.
Yeah.
You know?
Look,
you know,
the guy.
I'm just saying
here. The guy. Yeah, I'm just saying the guy who went to school, got a degree in business and finance, and then like is working as an accountant for a major firm, probably isn't gonna go out looking for adventure, killing dragons, and like, you know.
No. It's always the people that need something else.
It's always the people who are like, I could work a normal fucking job, or I could do something interesting, weird, and interesting.
Yeah.
Just gonna close my spreadsheet full of game ideas over here and try not to feel attacked.
Healthy, well-adjusted people don't fight dragons.
Yeah, you just it's very that's true. That's a very neurodivergent. At least, look, I'm calling myself out here. That's a very neurodivergent thing. It's like, what are you gonna do for a living? Oh, that thing over there that there's like no guarantee of actually getting a payoff. It's probably going to negatively impact my health and well-being, and but it's fun and different.
Yeah, 100%. Feel you hard on that one. I think to answer Nico's like previous question of like, I think the character that I started off thinking was going to be the most unlike me was Nobody, because she had a lot of traits and features that I didn't have, of being really smart with numbers and also being really social. And I was like, that's not me. And then the more I played her, the more I'm like, oh, she's so fucked up in the exact same ways I am. Oh no. I learned a lot about myself by playing Nobody.
That awkward moment when you come for yourself with a sneak attack, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Fucking crit sneak attack your own introspection.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's like pretty much exactly like that's what I thought when I was started playing Nobia. Like, this is a cool like way of playing a character that I've never done before. I usually play like head empty druids because that's easy. I'm gonna play someone that's really like focused on like intellect and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just me, but in a has a worse backstory.
Yeah. Like
I
that
also-
awkward time that I played a half orc who was struggling with, you know, the two different halves of his identity, and then I realized, oh, it's me being a bicultural person. Whoops. Uh-oh.
Look what I did to myself on accident.
Yeah.
Yay.
I have long since accepted that John Blinn and probably, I can't speak for you, but probably Gabri are just like the character manifestation of my own ADHD tendencies.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah. Gabri is very much like Gabri and John Blinn are completely opposites. Like, you're like full chaos and Gabri's like hyper focus.
John was like, I found a dinosaur egg. Shit, I dropped it in the river.
The goblins are just our id manifested for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't tried to make a character that's specifically not like me. I've always tried to make characters that are like a part of myself or like a thing that I was interested that I've never explored before, but never like, oh, this is a completely different person than me. And because usually when like a lot of time I can be like, oh, I don't usually play like fighters or something. I'll play a monk because that's fun, and I don't usually get to punch things, or like I don't do a lot of intellect. I'll play a hacker type of thing, but like, there's always like a part of me that's like, but this is gonna be like this part of my interests, or this is gonna be like this part of my id or personality, because in order to do good acting, you kind of got to draw from within, so you can't really have someone that's completely different from yourself.
Right.
Especially if you're like improving, then you're like,
you know,
I only have me to talk. I only have my experiences.
It's really interesting because that you say that, because I was sitting here thinking, like, I was thinking about an idea that I thought was connected. I just couldn't find the connected tissue, but you actually just helped me get there. Which is, I was thinking about this from like the perspective of being a GM and making NPCs, and I know that like there are things that I do well when I'm GMing, and there are things that I do less well when GMing. But one thing that I know that I do really well, and that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of it because I've like specifically intentionally worked on it and making it happen, and then I did, is making NPCs that are real. They have depth to them, and they like feel like real people. And for me, that act of making NPCs is an exercise in understanding what is going on in other people's heads. Because with NPCs, I am very specifically not trying to make me as a character. Right? Like, if I'm making my own character, I have to live in that person's head for a long time and very, like, intimately, which means that it's helpful to know them. But if I'm making an NPC, it is very specifically an exercise in not making a character like me. And I think that's very interesting.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. Now that you thought of that, I guess I have a different answer. The character that I've played that's the most unlike me is Thravis from Marketplace Mayhem. Who is a snake who does stunts.
What's up, Slitherinos? Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking that back during that conversation too. It's like, I don't know if I have played a one-shot or a long-term TTRPG character that is like very unlike me, but I have played NPCs, whether they were villainous or just random encounters in the world. I have played a lot of NPCs that aren't anything like me. And that's because if every NPC that you met in my campaign was like me, it would be really, really easy.
Really easy. You just talk to me and be like, but it's okay. I'm like, it's okay. We don't have to fight. Bring it in.
Bring it in, buddy. Bring it in. Yeah, a campaign in which every single villain you can just confront by talking it out with them and their minions.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you see what this guy is doing? Like, do you really is this what you really want to be doing? No, man. Listen, I signed up because the pay was good, but we haven't gotten our checks signed in 3 weeks.
They promised me benefits, and there haven't been any benefits, and I just.
And he keeps telling me to kill people.
Oh god, so good. But yeah, I guess that is the answer. When you are a DM, you have to be you have to be other people. You can't be yourself, or else it's not interesting. But when you make a player character, it's always just picking a part of yourself that you haven't really thought about, or like an interest of yours that you're like, oh, this is like a new focus of mine, and I kind of want to play with it and see what comes out of it. I want to like twirl this ball into my hands and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, it's sort of like taking an aspect of yourself and then just exaggerating it and building a personality around that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, I was kind of thinking like possibly another answer for myself was this mushroom character that I was playing in Nico's birthday one shot that we have been made into a 3-shot. Was that she's a very she's another druid, but she's like a very goth druid, and that's not very much me. But I was I don't know, as even playing her just in combat has been kind of oh, this is kind of interesting, and a little bit of oh yeah, thinking about this type of stuff has been really interesting to me as well. So it's building an entire personality around a hyper focus or an interest or a part of yourself and making a character out of that.
Yeah, you've got that little pastel goth streak about this wide that runs through you, that sits right next to the witchy interests. And I feel like that's what Amanita is born out of.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Yep.
Amity says, I haven't played a lot of D&D or created a lot of OCs, but I get the same thing when I examine my favorite characters from various media, and there are reasons I relate to and love these characters so much. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really interesting. Now I'm gonna have to sit with that next time. Next time I'm thinking about one of my favorite characters and something, I'm gonna have to sit with that and think about if one of the things I like about them is that I'm seeing something of myself in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. I'm glad you said that, Amity, because now I'll have to think about that in myself. But that's also really cool. I like that that's a thing that I am on the record about this. I think we should be thinking about our media in this way all the time. I think that we should be examining this stuff and going oh, why do I like this? What do I like about this? And that kind of thing. So I'm very glad that you brought that up, and it's super cool that you do that.
Metacognition.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thinking about
all
thinking.
The cool kids are doing it.
Thinking about thinking.
Yeah, right. Because you could totally see something that you are that's a part of you, or you see something that you wish you were more of.
Yes, I was thinking that too. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's that too.
There is, aspirational.
Yeah,
aspirational rather than picking your flaws.
And that's what I think. That's why I think there's so many characters in main characters in books that just feel kind of all the other characters, all the supporting characters are more interesting, because I feel the main character is somebody whose head you have to live in, and therefore it's sort of a writer shorthand. It's a shortcut that authors often use, is making the character. I've heard them referred to as pants, right? You put them on, you wear them for a little while, and then you take them off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of have to be a little bit nothing, because they've got to be able to But I've also, some of my favorite books have been ones where the main character is somebody who is so different from me in a way that is kind of twisted, that it makes them fascinating. It makes their head fascinating to be in. Yeah, what were you saying, John?
Tamsin Muir is really good at that.
Yeah.
Gideon, because there are 3 books out, forthcoming right now in the Locked Tomb series, which, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a science fantasy locked room mystery kind of series, or at least it starts that way. I will say, like, there's a mystery in each book, and they are definitely structured like mystery novels. But the first one is from Gideon's point of view, and Gideon is a very likable kind of roguish character that I think just about anybody can get along well with. The second book is written from her necromancer Harrow's point of view, and Harrow is real fucked up and a little bit nuts. And so that's a really interesting thing to read, because that's not that character is not a pair of pants. That character is very, very different to read the POV of. And the third book is also really interesting as well. It's another person who doesn't really quite know who they are, but we're experiencing the world through them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting experiment doing that kind of stuff in media, where you can have characters who are easy to just kind of slip into, and then there's the other end of the spectrum. I feel like where this is a character that my interest in them is almost because of the way that they experience the world, that is similar enough to the way that I do, but also really different.
Right. I think I'm in the process of reading the Mistborn books, and the main protagonist of those books, because it sort of switches around a little bit as you go on, but the main protagonist, Vin, is somebody who grew up on the streets in really not great places, believing that every moment was about survival, and that everyone around you would betray you, and that kind of thing. And it's really Sanderson is great at world building. That's what I've found, is that Brandon Sanderson is really good at world building. When it comes to characters and his prose, it leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not bad, it just leaves a little to be desired. Where he shines is in world building, but even still, I still find myself in Vin's head reading those books going this character is not at all what I would consider pants. This character is very has a very specific personality, and she is very different from just your standard hero's journey character, impatient at having to be taught lessons, and not that. She's just it's interesting seeing her trying to parse the world when she realizes that it's so much bigger than the world that she grew up with, and trying to see it. It's you're seeing it through your lens, but you're also seeing her trying to interpret that world through her lens, and it's really fascinating. Yeah, it's really frustrating at times, because you get frustrated with the character, but also I don't know, it's just fascinating. It makes it for a really engaging reading experience. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this wasn't intended to be a review of Mistborn, but there you go. I liked it.
Just sorry, I was thinking of an author comparison, and I think I don't know, just it made me think of when you said his prose is all right, but the world building is fantastic. And I just I had a bunch of thoughts about that, and I was yeah, it feels like the Sanderson also notably fucking cranks out books. Dude will just bang out a few thousand-page novels in a couple
favorite
of years.
thing, I hadn't heard this before the other day. My friend said this to me. He was like, yeah, have you seen the meme where Patrick Rothfuss, George R.R. Martin, and Brandon Sanderson have a mutual agreement that they'll shave only when they release a book?
Brandon Sanderson, perpetually clean shaven
man.
And I was actually thinking of Rothfuss, because I was somebody that I know whose prose is beautiful. Rothfuss writes, I think, by his own admission, I think incredibly slowly, because he's very meticulous about it. But his prose is fucking beautiful. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I want Patrick Rothfuss to read me stories.
I agree.
At bedtime for the rest of my life, because they are so pretty. You say words good.
Man. Okay, so since we're on the subject of books right now, I know a lot of people have
It's just a really funny comment.
That's incredible.
He's not a human. He's an inkjet printer.
Yeah, from everything that I've seen of him recently, yeah, that sounds correct.
Yeah.
No, I know a lot of people have issues reading these days, as I did up until recently. Yeah, but like as far as books,
that's why I can't do this conversation because the only book that I can remember reading in the last for fun was the Percy Jackson series. That was a long time ago. So
yeah,
hi.
yeah, fair enough. No, I wasn't gonna get into a conversation about
college, but
I wasn't gonna get into a conversation about books specifically, but more about on the subject of like. I guess I'm just sort of thinking about in terms of like characters, right? I'm thinking about like characters from like I guess books that you have read that you like have found engaging interest. They don't have to be main characters, but like it just and yeah, because that kind of thing always fascinates me. Like what it is about certain characters that land and some that don't. You know.
I really had characters that didn't land for me, mainly just because I think that I'm pretty good at just losing myself to whatever the world is that's being described. Is just like, okay, that this is just how this works, and that's fine. And I don't usually, especially if I'm just reading for fun, I don't usually really think about it too hard. But when I was when you're talking, I was kind of thinking about like, I think why I liked graphic novels and comic books a little bit better than just regular novels, and not just because pictures, but also because it's so much more interesting to learn about a character by from an outside perspective than through the lens of their own eyes. And when a lot of comic books, there is a main character or a main cast, and you kind of like hear like what they're like saying and talking about, but you're also looking at their face, and you're not imagining you're seeing what they're seeing. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Comics, I think, definitely do give you more of than as compared to like novels. Do give you, I think, more of the experience of learning about a character by feeling like you're watching them, because you can
right, yeah,
literally see them by virtue of the medium, right?
It's more like you're watching this person's life and how they interact with people, and it gives them a little bit more that character a little bit more agency to be themselves and not be you. And I think that's sort of why I like reading comics a little bit better, because then it's like not just like I open up a book and I'm like, well, I'm just this person now. And some of my and I think one of my favorite reasons of why I was like so drawn to the Percy Jackson series when I was younger, from the ages of like from however long he was writing those books, from like my 6th grade until college. He the tone of voice, it was definitely through the main character Percy's eyes, but his tone of voice seemed much more like you were watching him than what you were seeing what he was seeing. Because he would just like, because you open up the book and he's like, basically like it's like it's like reading a podcast.
The Percy
you know
Jackson,
what I mean.
Yeah, the Percy Jackson books very much feel like you sat down next to Percy on the subway, and he started telling you a story about his life.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's the vibe that you've got here. Like, I think from Rick Riordan's style of narration, at least with the books that are from Percy's point of view.
Right.
I want to point out, because Hessen said, I think this is very interesting, that like the thing that Bree said about like characters viewing them from the outside, that might be the reason why outside characters can be more like the other characters are more interesting in novels sometimes, because the main character is more of a framing character for the world, and I think that's very interesting. I I agree with you, Hassan, because often I think the main character functions as like a portal for the reader into the world, to like from like the main character is like the sensory device that the reader is using to perceive the world in the book. And I think, see, and this is why, see, I'm glad we have these conversations, because now I understand. I mean, not that I didn't before, but now I think in a different context I understand why having unreliable narrators is such a good thing, because because I think it's very tempting, I think, probably for authors to make the character, the main character, because they are the sensory portal into the world, to make the main character less less biased about their world, so as not to bias the reader. But I actually think that there is power in having a biased main character, because in some ways it makes it even a more powerful experience through which to view the world, because you're learning and experiencing just as the character is. And in some cases, if it's done really well, like what I was talking about with Mistborn, you can see the way that the character is interpreting what is happening before them, but you also understand that that's not what's happening. And I think that's very interesting, because then you have the character and you have your own perception of the world, instead of just one or the other. You have both, and I think that's very interesting. That's cool. I don't know if anything I said just made any sense, but that's what
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And whenever I do writing, even when I write the Phoenix, it's very much, I guess in a way, kind of like I write like, or I would imagine writing a tabletop role playing campaign where it's like, here's what's happening in the world, and here's what my characters think about it, whether that's right or wrong. And that's sort of what I love to see in a lot of media. I either really love, like, here is a character that in itself is interesting, but is also a blank slate, because this world's complicated and you need help. But I also really love when it's like, this world's complicated and you're just gonna fucking dive right in. And the character might be wrong about what's happening, and you will learn with them. And those are both very good ways of telling a story, because depending on what your level of what you want to get out of the story, it works really well for both. And most of I don't have a lot of book to talk about, but my favorite part of, like, here's kind of a blank slate character but also has his own biases recently is in Bullet Train, which is a movie. If you haven't watched Bullet Train, I highly recommend it. I think about it a lot. It just came out and it's very good. But yeah, there's like, the main character is not supposed to be there about what's happening. He's not supposed to be there. And so he is his own person. He's got his own, like, thoughts and feelings and stuff, and that's clearly, like, shown before he gets into this whole thing. But then he is both a blank slate character and also a like, his own, like, side character type of vibe, because he is not supposed to be there, and you are learning along with him, even though he is also a full person to you as well. He's just another character in the story, but he is the one that you follow through the story, because he also has no idea what's happening.
So yeah, Nico, absolutely. Sorry. Nico said, I love stories that don't bother explaining stuff that the main character doesn't care about. Yes. I also love, related, and actually maybe even just the same thing, but stories that don't bother explaining stuff that the main character already knows. Like, I think I posted a video a while back in the Discord about the environmental storytelling in Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, right? Like how, and I thought there was one point in that really stuck with me, which is that one of the first things that happens in that game is somebody leans over and hands you a shard, and it's like, here, slot this, and then your character takes it and just sticks it into like the slots for the shards at at the base of their skull. But it wasn't like, hey, do you have one of those, like, one of those operating systems for do you have a slot for a shard or whatever that you can, and then explaining to you what that is in the world. It just assumes the understanding of it, and that in itself, like the character just assumes that you, the character V, has one of those, which tells you a lot about the world right off the bat without explaining anything. It tells you that everybody has one of those. Or at least enough people have it that nobody is going to ask you whether or not you have one. And that tells you about the technology of the world. It tells you about the culture of the world. It tells you so many things that just... It tells you a lot about V, yeah. It tells you so many things about the world without ever once explaining any of them. And I think that's so cool. Now, I'm also on the record about the whole show don't tell concept, and that sometimes you just need to fucking say it. I'm on the record about that. But sometimes
it works, and
sometimes you need it.
Sometimes
and I think,
you need it.
Yeah, more often than not, particularly if you're talking about the world. If you're talking about the world, more often than not, you need that. You need the show don't tell. But I think it's less important when you're talking about like a character and like their bearing and their like reactions to things. Like sometimes you can just say the character's mad. Like you don't have to describe like their eyebrows scrunched together, and you can see the build, like the shaking of the shoulders as their temper build. Like you don't have to say that. You just say they're mad. Just say they're mad and move on. Like
yeah. And it's like the way that you say that and the way that you tell the reader that, or it can also just speak volumes about the character. Saying V was angry is very different than saying V was pissed.
Yep.
You know? Absolutely.
One of those is more punk than the other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's oh, I missed chat moved while we were talking about that.
Yeah,
People had things to say. People had things to say about that.
Nico said, "I love stories that don't bother explaining stuff." And I had one more thing in response to that, which was also about the Locked Tomb series, which is the most recent novel series that I've read. But the entire third book is just the experience. The main character's name is Nona. The entire experience of reading that book is Nona being hyper fixated on taking care of this 8-legged dog. And we're like, oh, that's really cute. We love this dog because Nona loves this dog. And then something incredibly plot relevant will be said in Nona's earshot. And she'll be like, oh, that's probably not important. I'm going to go walk the dog. I'm like, no, go back.
Incredible.
And that's the whole book. Anyway, Tamsin Muir is a genius. But yeah, I love it when stories do that because it keeps me invested. And even when you do that, in the same way as you described with Cyberpunk, somebody handing V a shard and saying slot this, it tells us about the character, and it still does tell us things about the other characters involved in the world. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of thing is so important. Like that can have I appreciate when a TV show, for example, respects its audience enough to not explain stuff that doesn't need to be explained. That is a thing I appreciate. However, there is, as there always is, a caveat, and that is you do have to explain some things. I'm thinking particularly if anybody here has ever watched Hemlock Grove.
No.
A little bit.
I cannot in good conscience recommend it to you, but I think it is worth. It's worth experiencing. That's the best way I can put that. It's worth experiencing.
It's an experience.
It is an experience. It is an experience of asking what the fuck 20 times a minute. So when
the fuck? And who the fuck?
Yes, exactly,
What's
Geek Outs.
happening?
That's the perfect. Sorry.
I love that show. It's not great.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how you. Yeah.
Too spooky for Brie. Yes.
Yeah. It's. I wouldn't even call it spooky. It's just weird. It's really what it is weird in some deeply uncomfortable ways.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
It's the uncomfortable part.
It's less spooky. It's more weird in some deeply uncomfortable ways. That's how.
I think instead of I should be like, oh, I don't like spooky stuff. I should I don't like things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think
if it makes me have a feeling of an intensity that I cannot handle, I don't like it.
Yeah. Geek Outs that's a perfect summary of season 3 of Hemlock Grove. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Huh? That was a choice. What the fuck? What the fuck? and then the end of it, the very ending, you're just like, okay, I guess that was an ending.
In that the show is over now.
It's one of those endings where like you like start to kind of like you figure all this stuff out, you kind of piece it all together, and then the ending's like it ends in such a way where you realize that you never understood the show to begin with. At no point did you understand the show. It's one of those endings. And not in a good way, not in like a good like mind bending really makes you think. No, it's more in like a really makes you think, and there's no actual like
Yeah, and you're like, about what? About what?
I shan't be finishing it then. I shan't.
I mean, no, it's worth doing. I think if you've already gotten some amount into it, it is worth finishing. But just understand that you're going to end that show with more questions than answers.
I don't mind the cast, actually, so
yeah,
for that
the cast is good. The cast is really good. But
that's true.
Yeah. So anyway, my point in bringing up Hemlock Grove was not to bash Hemlock Grove. My point was, you don't have to explain everything. You do, however, have to explain some things. And
plot or the lore gets too complicated, there's always a point where, like, you as a reader, but also the characters are gonna be like, hold on. What is fucking happening?
Look, if we're 2 episodes from the series finale and I still have no idea what's going on, I'm sorry. That's not a good, like, mind-bending thriller mystery or whatever. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Yeah. You have just described nonsense.
Remember to write a carousel.
Bringing us full circle.
Full circle, let's carousel. Let's go.
Oh my god! Oh, that was. I did not expect that.
It just came to me.
Oh wow!
Oh good.
The joke that I was gonna make was not even close to that good. It was something to the effect of like, like when you were in like sophomore year of high school and your writing teacher told you that you can't introduce new information in your conclusion. Yeah, that, but with a TV show.
Yeah.
That, but with stakes and investment.
Yeah.
No. Hermes says, when I get to the end and I'm angry, and when I'm angry confused, you have failed. Yeah, exactly. Angry confused. That's the perfect way of putting it. That's exactly what I felt at the end of that show. Angry confused.
There's a lot of shows where I felt angry confused.
Yeah.
I can't name one off the top of my head because I honestly try not to think about them.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one that I can think of that I hate more than anything. And it's gonna mean nothing to anyone here, because I'm at this point in my life, because I am a trash. I mostly watch K-dramas and J-dramas and C-dramas at this point, because I am trash. And and what Herbie said earlier is like, I love this show. It was bad. That's pretty much all I watch at this point. But there is a show that. There's only been like one drama where I ended it and I'm like, this is the worst thing in the entire world. And it was one called My Girlfriend is an Alien.
Yes!
And it sucks so bad. I don't have to get into it if you don't want me to. But I have to say the phrase. The main male character has heterosexual amnesia when it rains. What the fuck does that mean? Good question. Good question. Good fucking question.
We got a season 2.
I got a season fucking 2, and that never happens in the drama world. I hate it. I hate this. I hate it so much. Anyways, we don't have to get into it. I just had to. I came into my brain and I had to talk about it.
I don't know how to process that, so I will not.
Oh god, I'm crying. I'm so glad that you brought up My Girlfriend as an Alien on Ramblemancy.
when I finished that show, I told my my housemate Miranda, and I talked to her about it until 3 a.m. just ranting about how terrible it was.
Oh my god. See,
it's a C drama.
Yes, it is. It is C. That is a C drama. It is not a K drama.
Okay. Yeah.
It is not a K drama. That is a C drama.
Yeah.
C dramas are weird.
Look, yes, angry confused, right? Angry confused. Look, I am no fan of Christopher Nolan. That's the end of that sentence. But, no, it's not. But like, angry confused is how I feel at the end of a lot of his movies. Not because I don't get them. It's because I understood what was going on, but it was like it was trying so hard to convince me that what was going on was really deep. And it was not deep. It was just nonsense. Like, it really was. I understand that, like, bashing on Christopher Nolan films on the internet is maybe not, like, the smart move, but, like, that's just how I feel about his movies. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I enjoyed The Dark Knight, absolutely, but it was because of Heath Ledger, not because... it's because of Heath Ledger. That movie, if you think about the line, it's because he's the hero that Gotham needs, or deserves, but not the one it needs. That is nonsense. If you think about that for 2 seconds, it's trying real hard to be profound. It means nothing. It's completely meaningless. I've gone on a rant about that on this channel before. I'm not going to do it right now, but yes, thank you, Cam. Thank you, yes. But yeah, it's just, it's nonsense. Inception, like, at the end when they bring it around and there's like, oh, the top is it gonna fall over? Is it not gonna fall? Who cares? Like, genuinely, no part of that is deep. No part of it is deep. It's just confusing.
And that's the kind of but it was all a dream the whole time ending that just cheapens the entire experience.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. It's it was all a dream the whole time. Or was it? It's like, stop.
I'm taking the pencil away.
No typewriters either. Yeah. We have monkeys for those. Anyway, yeah.
That's how we got My Girlfriend is an Alien.
Me and Heston have just been talking in chat. C-dramas have the weirdest trope set, and I would love to talk about it, but I don't know if anyone would find it interesting other than the select few people in this chat, so I'll just do it on my own channel.
I adore listening to your like K-drama, J-drama, C-drama like trope and like media recaps and downloads, because it's just fast. Sometimes it's fascinating when you watch the difference between each of the different kinds. I adore it.
Wild. It's wild.
So cool.
I want you all to know that I watch so many more of these dramas than I talk about, because most of them are bad, and I don't talk about the ones that are bad.
Bree was like, one time was like, yeah, you have to watch about the first 10 episodes of these to really get a feel for whether or not they were good. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went and looked at the episodes, and they're like an hour and a half. It's like, Breed.
So hold on a second, Bree.
I do it a lot of time. I have a lot of time when I'm drawing. Okay?
I have a question for you, Bree, because this is something that I think I just thought about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I was always on some level tangentially aware of this, but I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about it as like a thing TM until just now. But are you the sort of person who, like, when you're consuming media, you just, like, if there's a particular type of media you like, you dredge it for like all the pearls, even if you have to wade through a lot of shit?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Me too. And like, I was aware of this, but like, I didn't think about it as like a thing TM until just now. And like, I think, yeah, good. Okay.
I watch I read the like synopsis of these shows, and I'm like, that seems stupid. We'll see if it's stupid or they do it well. No, it's stupid. Okay.
But the kiss scene.
But the kiss scene is cute. Like, there's some good nuggets in there. It's like, oh, is this as problematic as it sounds? No, it's actually kind of interesting. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Like,
yeah,
that's
like,
sort of what I like doing. But with media that has no stakes,
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of like there's some very very good K-dramas, especially in the more recent years, that have a lot of stakes that are like very very well done. But in the past, a lot of them are adapted from manga, so a lot of manga, like a lot of shoujo manga, or like any like non hard hitting incredible manga that is already made into an anime can be made into a drama of some sort. And a lot of nothing happens, and it's mostly like melodrama and, you know, what we think of as dramas in from any culture. And there's a lot of nothing that happens, and you're like, unless you're invested, you're kind of like, this is stupid. And you have to wait to see if you're invested, because it's a show. But if by like episode 10 you're not invested, it's like, just stop watching.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No,
and
it's interesting.
Go and find another one.
It's interesting because, like, yeah, like I watch a lot of TV, and like genuinely, like my dad and I talk about this all the time, where he does not watch TV. He does not like television. He finds that there is nothing worth watching on there. He hates it. But like he likes talking to me about it. But like we have totally different approaches, and like to that kind of thing. And for me, I realized, like, well, when talking to my dad, that like I find it completely worthwhile. Like, I can watch all kinds of absolute garbage, but it's totally worth it if watching all that absolute garbage yields this one little pearl that's incredible, and I love it so much. You know, like. And the rest of those, totally worth it. Totally worth it. And that's, like, apparently that's just the... I do the same thing, John has seen and can attest to. I do the same thing with open world crafting survival games.
Yep.
I have played all of them. Not all of them, but I've played a lot of them. And some of them are real bad. Real not good. Looking at you, Dark and Light. Anyway.
Yeah,
real bad.
I weirdly have, like, a much better patience for like not great TV shows than I do anything else.
Yeah.
Like, there is, like, it has to be in a genre that I like, of course. I'm not gonna like, this is a stupid sci-fi that's like cheesy and stupid, unless it's like made to be cheesy and stupid. But it's like, I'm trying to be a good sci-fi, but it sucks. I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
No.
But if it's like a stupid romance thing, I'm like, all romances are kind of stupid because that's just how they are. I'll see what's good about it and pick apart the parts that are good.
Yes.
And like really
absolutely.
enjoy those aspects of it, because ever since I was a kid, I love shoujo manga and I love shoujo animes and stuff where it's all like, oh, heart fluttery and adorable and cute. And as I've gotten older, I've found more and more ways to like engage with that in more like intellectual ways of like, what are the tropes that are really like interesting to me?
Bree,
that are like
I think we're discovering live on the internet that we just need to have a podcast. I think that's what we're discovering live on the internet.
Yeah.
Where we just you and I do the deep dive through all the garbage. So that you don't, so that everybody else doesn't have to.
You don't have to.
Have
watch some really stupid TV shows, but you don't have to.
Have me on so I can do the thing that I think I do for both of you separately, where like you wade through and find all of the pearls, and then I get to hear about all of the pearls and the variations and like all the little theme things, and I'm like, oh, this is I love breaking this down.
Oh my
like, oh, it's interesting the way that they chose to do this, and you're like, yeah.
It's really interesting. It's so interesting.
Oh my
like,
god.
Yeah. I would listen to both Lucas and Free going over garbage media that they love.
Hermes, absolutely not. Hermes says, just call the podcast Hetero Amnesia in the Rain.
Definitely not.
No.
That is a piece of garbage.
Vetoed.
Stay in the garbage.
I just shorten it to what are I gonna look at the letters here? Hair. That's better.
Oh my god.
But yeah, there's so many, like, there's lots of different things, even in garbage media, that are actually really interesting, because when people are like, make it a thing, no matter how stupid of a concept it is. At least someone cares.
At some point, somebody somewhere along the line believed in it. And
you want to find out what that was.
Yes. Yes.
You're like, all right, somebody had a good idea in here somewhere, and I'm gonna find it if it fucking kills me.
Absolutely.
Find it.
Yep.
This show got greenlit, which means that somebody thought it was a good idea, and I want to know. I want to be in their shoes.
We are basically at the end of our time, but Gemini said sometimes the writing is so bad, but the acting is so good that you can't help but suffer with the acting. And you know what?
Yeah.
An example of something similar, but like different, the aspects are sort of switched around. The show Daybreak on Netflix. It only got one season, so manage your expectations. But I will say this. It was the dialogue. I thought that it was not a very good show that I just liked in general. But upon a second viewing of that show, I find it baffling because the writing for the characters is really good and really interesting. You see them as cardboard cutouts, but then you see them... Like, that's kind of the theme of the show. The characters seem like cardboard cutouts. And then as you go on, you sort of realize that they're much, much deeper than that. And they're written in such a fascinating way. However, the dialogue was so bad. So bad. It was like they said, hey, let's take a bunch of Gen Z slang and try to shoehorn as much of it as possible into every single dialogue line. And it's so bad. And the thing that bothers me about it, the reason I find it so baffling, and I think this is why it's like one of those things that just like doesn't leave my brain, because I don't understand it. Because clearly they understood the concept of good writing. They understood good writing because narratively that show is really tight. It is a really good, and thematically. But dialogue-wise, it was, oh God, I have rarely seen worse dialogue in my life. And I don't understand it. I don't understand it. How can those things coexist?
I don't know. Oh gosh, I love watching shows like that though, where it's like, this is really interesting. Why are you saying stupid shit?
It's the worst when a show has just like the best premise and is otherwise like really, really good, but then the dialogue is just the most wooden shit that you've ever listened to, and it's like it's so disappointing. And like I usually watch the entirety of that media and then just make up better dialogue in my as I go along.
Yeah. Well, and the worst part is I can see what they're going for in that show, and I think they did it really well. But the dialogue just makes me cringe all the time. But they did like they got the thematic stuff across. That show had a message. That show had a thesis, and it. I think that show stuck to its thesis and did it really well. But that dialogue. Okay. We are at the end of our time, and that makes me very sad because this is
so sad. All right, we just need to schedule another time for me and Lucas to just go off.
Absolutely,
I think that's what it is.
I think that's true.
We gotta have you back, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We'll come back. We'll actually write up like a topic next time. We found the topic we can all talk about.
There it is. Yeah.
We just honestly, like we've done this before for a topic, but I think we should revisit it with you along. Bree is bad media.
Yes.
Yes, bad media.
Yeah. Wow, it's been a while. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we are gonna go. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, for chatting, for bringing your ideas, your analysis, your thoughts to the chat. It's always great. I love the fact that we've been able, like all of us, not us here, but like you guys too, have been able to we've been able to sort of build a space on the internet where this kind of conversation exists and we can do this kind of thing. It's one of my favorite things that we do. So it's always gratifying when we have all of you here and participating. It's great. I love it. Not a whole lot in the way of announcements for probably the foreseeable future. We're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna keep doing this. That's and we've got some other stuff in the works, but that's way down the line. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. We've got Freeman, we've got Patreon, we've got Media Club coming out this coming week. Yeah.
It's funny. I was just gonna say, speaking of bad media, we'll be doing some media at the end of this month at some point.
Yes.
Not bad media, but media that we have consumed, whether it's books, video games, or shows or movies. And I'm sure I've consumed a lot, but in any case, that's gonna happen at some point on our Patreon, which is at our support it at the lowest tier of Patreon, which is awesome. More on that will be next month.
Yep. Absolutely. Just a quick reminder that if you are subscribed to us here on Twitch, you get access to the first 2 tiers of our Patreon content through our Discord. So if you are subscribed and you are in our Discord, you'll get access to the stuff that you hear us talking about, Media Club and Tabletop Tool Chest. So yeah, Hermes. Oh my gosh, Hermes! Thank you so much for gifting that sub.
I was saying it's worth noting that if you sub and you pick up those benefits on Patreon, you have access to the full backlog of all of our Tabletop Tool Chest stuff, and that is like 3 years of the folks here on screen writing prompts for adventures, locations, NPCs. In one case, an entire little adventure in and of itself with characters, a tavern. Like we've done a lot of cool shit in there, and if you are ever looking to peruse something, looking for inspiration for like a one shot or like the next arc in your tabletop RPG game, we've got a whole bunch of cool stuff just hanging out in there. You can check out. So.
Bree, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I sincerely doubt that anybody who's in our chat needs to be told, but where can you be found on these interwebs?
Well, I can be found on my own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BreeDonnan. I stream there 3 days a week, and you can actually see both me and John on my channel tomorrow, because we're going to be doing episode 2 of my Metroid playthrough series, because y'all asked me to do that on my Streamiversary last year, and we're doing it, and I'm going to fight Kraid, and I'm worried. I'm worried.
Because this went so well for Ray.
It went so well for Ray. It went super, super well for Ray. I'm so good at Metroidvanias. I played one and then I rage quit it. So we're gonna do our best.
Yeah, Metroidvanias. That's like your favorite style of game, right, Bree?
My favorite style of game that I'm really, really good at.
And you know, something that we learned about last week on Saturday is that you're really, really, really naturally good at platforming and shooting at the same time.
I remember what buttons do.
That's good. That's good. We love that.
I do remember what buttons do. And it took me 30 minutes to learn how to do a speedrunning trick, which is cool. But other than that, yeah, Brie can mockball. She's fine. But yes. Anyways, next week, not next week, tomorrow. Oh boy. Tomorrow we're doing that. And then next week also is my birthday. If anyone, there's going to be a stream about it. That's the next like big event that's happening on my stream. So if you want to come and celebrate, that's a thing that's going on. And then also, me and John's Kickstarter is $9 away from 6K. So if you haven't backed it yet and would like us to get 6K tonight, to have me and John absolutely blow our minds, you can do that. Terminus is now on Kickstarter, and I'll let John take that away because I've been talking for too long.
Sure. Absolutely. Everyone knows where to find me. I'm never far from anybody that you see on screen here, except distance-wise, because unfortunately I live 2/3 of the way across the country from Lucas and Freeman.
That's kind of weird that we're we actually the two sides of the screen live really close to each other.
Yeah, actually.
What the heck?
We did it on purpose.
Yeah, we did it on purpose.
Calculated. Anyway, but Terminus is currently on Kickstarter. As y'all know, I write and edit tabletop RPGs. Terminus is a tarot-powered ritual RPG. It is a game in which you take the game zine outside with you with a deck of cards, usually a tarot deck. You can play with a regular deck of cards if you want. You make some observations on a walk, then you sit down, draw a few cards, and tell a story about what you saw. It is the best way that I can very kindly and sincerely urge everyone who plays it to go and touch grass, because it's good for you.
Not me, but
not for Freeman. I've seen Freeman bleed because of grass. So.
If you were allergic, I cannot recommend touching the grass, but outside good. So yeah. Anyway, it is $9 from 6K, which means at this point you are like 800% or something guaranteed to get a book from Bree and I. It's a beautifully illustrated zine. Very, very excited to print a whole bunch of those here in a few months and ship them out this summer. So yeah, that's my Terminus plug.
Awesome.
What we do.
I believe we had a suggestion for a raid. Hold on, I have to scroll up. Harley Cryptid is playing Power Wash Simulator with friends and trying to raise money to help their mom with some financial troubles. That sounds great. John, if you want to go ahead and set that up. But yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for coming and hanging out, chatting with us tonight. We're going to do this raid here real quick, so stick around for that if you can. Yeah, we will see you next Friday, where we have another fun guest coming. Our very own Hermes is going to be with us next week. Hermes will be here to chat with us about some TTRPG stuff. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about... I'm very excited for this conversation topic, so... Because, you know, I don't talk about TTRPGs enough, so I need... Anyway.
That wasn't the first half of this. That wasn't
Not
the
at
first
all.
half of this
No,
whole thing.
definitely not. But yeah, we're going to be talking TTRPG stuff with Hermes next week. Next week is the 3rd, right?
Yes.
Yes, Jesus.
Yep.
Oh,
No.
I scared myself. That's right. That's right.
My birthday.
Oh, I scared myself
Yeah.
there for a second because I didn't
He's
know.
turning 25.
That's don't say that to me.
I'm aware I'm baby.
Listen, I turned 30 a few weeks ago, so.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's pretty epic. No, motherfuckers.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week for Ramblemancy, but if not, we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night. And good zone.
Mwah.